I'm John Tobin, and I want to share with you some amazing stories of hope made possible by an organization called hopeFound. For the past 26 years, hopeFound has responded to the needs of the most chronically homeless men and women in Boston, offering innovative programs that help people find recovery, employment, housing, and hope. hopeFound's work is grounded in a few core values, including the belief that emergency shelters are not acceptable forms of permanent housing, and the understanding that every individual has the potential to overcome homelessness. Guided by these values, hopeFound has ended homelessness for more than 500 men and women in just the last 3 years. Let me share with you some of the personal stories of hope behind these numbers. Kenneth's life has been one hard knock after another, but you can't keep him down. Sickness and stress took their toll, leading to nervous breakdowns. But Kenneth still made a life for himself, marrying and working steadily for nearly 2 decades in a warehouse. It was only after a serious car accident that his life started to splinter. Without a car, he couldn't get to work. Without work, he had to live off his retirement savings. He started drinking, up to 30 beers a day. As he says, "I couldn't find a job, I got depressed, I thought to hell with it, I might as well get drunk." By 2009, he was homeless. After bouncing between shelters and hospitals, he arrived at hopeFound's stabilization program, a post-detox program for men. He was so disoriented, he couldn't attend appointments without an escort. Most striking of all, in a program based on talk therapy, he barely spoke. But even if he wasn't talking, he was listening. Over time, he started to trust hopeFound's counselors and speak with them one-to-one about the alcoholism in his family and the violence he saw as a child. Slowly, he started to heal, physically and mentally. And then his name was chosen in a lottery for a subsidized one-room apartment. To stay sober, he prays the moment he wakes up. He also spends time with his sister, plays music on his keyboards, and meets with a hopeFound housing counselor. "I'm happier now than I've ever been," he says. "The right people showed up to help me." Brenda doesn't fit anyone's stereotype of homelessness. She's a mother, a grandmother, a former school crossing guard, and PTA member. 10 years ago, she was living with her husband of 30 years in Yonkers. When he died, she lost a piece of herself and turned for solace to cocaine. She went on to lose her job, her savings, and the trust of those closest to her. As she says, "Some people are functional addicts. That wasn't me." After deciding to get clean, Brenda moved to Boston to make a fresh start living with a friend. When the friendship fell apart, she was alone and afraid, but determined to rebuild her life. After spending 3 chilly spring nights sleeping in Franklin Park, Brenda entered hopeFound's emergency shelter. That was her turning point. Through the shelter, she joined a women's support group in a 12-step program. She signed up for food stamps and health care and received help finding a job. She became part of the shelter's work crew, which led to a full-time position working in a hospital cafeteria. Her next step, housing. With hopeFound's help, she applied for subsidized housing. But when she learned that the typical wait is 12 to 18 months, time stopped, followed by tears. The shelter was like a dorm, with friends living close, but it was not a home. Could she hold on? With support from hopeFound staff, she did. Recently, she moved into her own apartment, where she wakes up to sunlight and speaks to her family once a week. "If it wasn't for hopeFound, I wouldn't be where I am today," she says. "Instead of living from a locker, I have a key to my own place. I will be grateful for the rest of my life." William is a man of considerable willpower. Abandoned by his mother when he was 13, he spent much of his young adulthood on the streets. Through sheer determination, he made it through high school, went to college, and landed high-paying jobs. But life wasn't a straight path. Along the way, he also got into drugs and alcohol and faced legal issues. When Will came to hopeFound's Impact Employment Services in his late 30s, he was homeless and out of work. With his college background and experience as a manager in healthcare, he wondered, could this place really help him? He gave Impact a chance, and soon learned that this wasn't your typical cookie-cutter program. Impact's employment counselor spent time getting to know Will, understanding his strengths, his career goals, where he needed help. They completely revised his resume and customized it for each job application. They also prepared carefully for interviews, figuring out answers to tough questions before they were asked. He got clothing for interviews, a voucher for public transportation, access to a resource room with computers, and his own personal email and voicemail. 6 months went by and Will was still searching, but meetings with Impact kept him focused. When he finally received not one, but 2 job offers, his counselor helped him choose between them. That wasn't the end of the connection. Will's counselor stayed in touch not for months, but for years. Today, 4 years later, Will is living in a condo. He's in a new job with even more responsibility, and he's engaged to be married. He also gives back by volunteering at Impact and serving on the advisory board of Work First, another hopeFound program. Will says, "They stay with you. They don't let you go. They made sure my life got back to normal." hopeFound helped Will get back on track. hopeFound doesn't do this work alone. If you're a supporter of hopeFound, you have helped Kenneth, Brenda, and Will get back on their feet. But there are many, many more people who need your help. I leave you with a few thoughts from Brenda. Hope is such a big word. If you don't have hope, you don't have nothing. Hope gets me up in the morning. It keeps me going. Hope is wishing that your dreams come true. It gives you the strength to keep going. Hope is all I had. It's what brought me to where I am today. I hope you will consider being part of a place where hope is truly found. hopeFound, recovery, employment, housing, and hope.